All right, guys. Today we're talking about the thermic effect of food, technically for like the fourth time, because I had to delete a whole bunch of stuff on my laptop, and like I couldn't convert the thing to whatever. Essentially, this is like the multiple or a multitude of times that I filmed this thing, and I'm hoping that now I'll be able to film it. It'll record and it'll stick, and all things will be wonderful. But you guys are talking about the thermic effect of food, and what I want you to take from this presentation is that your food choice matters for whatever you're trying to do, whether in your life, whether it be health focused or just like a fitness focused thing. Let's move along. All right, guys. So about me, my name is John Brown. This is me hanging out with my boy Tyreek. We've actually started filming some more content together. It's pretty funny, pretty cool dude. Definitely check him out on like Instagram. We he'll probably be like a guest on this podcast at some point soon. So look forward to seeing my man Ty. So yeah, guys, you don't know about me. If it's your first time seeing me, I'm Sean Brown, owner of Empirical Fitness. We're based in Austin. We do virtual, or we, me included, I do virtual and online coaching. If you want to holler at me via, please do so at my email. Check me out on like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Pretty much anytime you want to find me, it's like quadfather underscore 77. Or there's 77s and quadfather in there somewhere. But yeah, ooh, and last but not least, if you're a nerd and you like to lift those weights, check out the Facebook group Nerds Lift Weights. It's a good place to be at. Quick nutrition overview. So first thing I want to talk to you guys about is calories in versus calories out. We call this CECO, and this is essentially the law of thermodynamics, which essentially means that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So essentially, if you burn more calories than you consume, you will lose weight. If you consume more calories than you burn, you'll gain weight. This is like undisputable law. Now, there may be nuances that you can do in your eating habits and when you're eating that can affect what the scale is doing, what's going on, but this is like baseline need to understand that if you are gaining weight or you are not losing weight, you are not in a calorie deficit. Or if you're trying to gain weight and you are not gaining weight, you are not in a calorie surplus. Boom. The four pillars of nutrition are the four things you can do to kind of like change or manipulate your nutrition pretty effectively or easily. So for me, those things are the calories king, macronutrient, nutrient timing, nutrient quality. And those are the areas of effectiveness, right? Like, for example, if you are trying to run a marathon, because I have a bunch of crazy friends who run marathons now, because I cross train and I run sometimes, they think it's a good idea for me to do crazy things with them. It's not. So yes, so you have those people. If you go into a marathon without enough gas in your tank, you don't get to finish because you run out of gas, right? So that's why calories are really important. Also, if you're trying to lose weight and you're not in enough of a calorie deficit, you will not see the scale budge. So CECO, calories important. Macronutrients, that's what your fuel is going to look like. That can kind of, we can manipulate that a little bit to help you get some results as far as your weight management. Cool thing. Or fight your hunger symptoms. And of course, last, we're going to go about the components of your metabolism. So this is calories out because calories in, that's what you're eating. Calories out, what we can manipulate. So the calories out, you have your resting or basal metabolic rate. You can't really change that much unless you kind of gain muscle. That's why like muscle is more metabolic tissue, but even then, it's not like by orders of magnitude. So just muscle gaining, good. So you have like your RMR or like BMR, whatever you want to kind of consider. And then you have your exercise activity, right? That's you working out, being active. You have your thermic effective food, which is like the food choice basis of this like talk today in this episode. And then you have NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. You have NEPA, non-exercise physical activity. They kind of work the same way, but they're technically slightly different. We'll talk about them later. I might make a presentation on those, but once again, later. Moving on. So what is thermic effective food? Thermic effective food is the principle that essentially states a calorie is a calorie, yes, but the components that the macronutrients that which we derive calorie from. So, for example, I have a calcium supplement. I will not gain calories, fuel from consuming my calcium supplement because it's a micronutrient, it's not a macronutrient. Macronutrients is where I get my fuel from. So the macronutrients, not all macronutrients burn the same. So essentially, fat, for example, has the highest fuel source per gram. So for example, I think Protein is like 4.5, carbs are 4.5 calories per gram or kilocalorie per gram. Fat is like, let's see, 4.3 or 4.5, something like that. Fat are at like 9 calories per gram. So fats are very calorically dense. And because of how these molecules are bonded and what your body has to do to break them down and turn them into something usable or use and how they would use them, the body has to exert energy to do that. And these different macronutrients take different amount of energies to break down. And that is essentially the principle of the thermic effect of food. So your thermic effect of food ranking. Protein is the highest. Protein costs the most amount of energy for your body to break down. Fiber, it technically like sits underneath the class of carbs, but it's like slightly different. And your body takes that is the second most amount of energy required to burn is the fiber. You have carbs as third, which is like your sugars and stuff like that. You can go simple or complex with your carbs. And then of course you have fats. Your body takes very little energy to break down and or utilize or store fat because it kind of comes in ready to go, ready to use. Honorable mentions. Ketones can sometimes be used as fuel, but like I think they have like the lowest thermic effect of food possible, and you don't really see the utilization of like ketones that much unless you're in ketosis. And then you have alcohol, which I think has a thermic effect of food slightly higher than fiber and closer to protein. But yeah, so these are your rankings, and we can use the thermic effect of food. We can use this principle to affect our uh, our food choices here. We can use that to affect the results we're trying to see, whether it be in the gym, whether it be we're trying to perform athletically, whether it be we are trying to lose weight or like manage our weight, and so on and so forth. We kind of slide into how that works. Boom. So why does TEF matter? So your athletic performance, your food choices, if you don't have, kind of talked about this earlier, friends who run marathons and they're, if you do not have enough gas in the tank or the right gas in the tank, you're not going to make it. This is what it is. Your athletic performance, if you're trying to perform athletically, you want to make sure you have gas because that's how, if you're a car and you have no gas, you're not going to go very far. You're not going to go anywhere or very far. Um, you have your calorie deficit by focusing on certain macronutrients. We can kind of increase our calorie deficit and or help manipulate our diet strategy in a way to make ourselves like less hungry, feel better about like hunger or kind of stave off hunger symptoms. You have something called like satiety, satiety, and I forget the definitions of each, but essentially one is you're full for a long time, the other is you're full for right now. Eating a really big salad makes you full right now. You'll get hungry not long in the future. The other one is you're full for a longer time, and it's going to take a longer time for your hunger symptoms to peak back up and for you to feel hunger and have to fight like that food craving. But once again, athletic performance, calorie deficit, and hunger symptoms, all those can be impacted by your food choices and, of course, by your thermic effect of food. So weight management, and weight loss. Protein and fiber are your friends. Once again, those two have the highest thermic effect of food. By focusing on those things, we can essentially increase our calorie deficit by I think like up to 15 to 18% or something like that. Your like if you ever heard like bodybuilders talk about eat protein and broccoli, you have your protein or eat like chicken and broccoli, you have a high protein, high fiber, higher deficit because of that, making weight loss or weight management easier to hang on to. So that's why I recommend protein and fiber, like focusing on those in your diet if you are trying to either manage your weight or focus on weight loss. Those things will help. Next, we've got some athletic performance. So, diets that are higher in fat and higher in carbs allow you to have more fuel for like an activity. Carbs can you want like if your sport is like fast but like slow, either long fast as far as like the event, but like longer recovery periods, like carbs are like your friend, and you don't really have to focus on like your fats very much because that's not like the fuel source that you're leaning on in such a thing. So 100-meter sprinter, not a lot of fat utilized. your Olympic lifting, your powerlifting, and like things like that, like not a lot of fat utilized. Those are very much more like carb centric sports and activities. Your like soccer, however, I'd recommend like having a diet that's higher in fat because like even though there are bouts of like sprinting and then jogging, sprinting and jogging, maybe some walking, fat allows you to have the fuel source that lasts the entire game. Now, at any point in time, you can refuel when you're like on the sidelines or there's a break or whatever because like you drink like your Gatorade, whatever carb source you want to use to make sure your carb back up, to have like another set of fuel because once again, drinking your carbs, like those simple carbs, they and sugars, they allow you to utilize those very quickly. Fats take longer to be utilized again after impacted, like normally like you want to sit down and rest and break those down after you've consumed that. Like you're not going to eat like a steak at halftime during a soccer game and feel ready to go for the rest of the game. You're going to focus on like carbs and sugars just because it's fuel, it's light. You don't need it a lot to. You don't have to spend too much time like breaking that kind of stuff down. You want to think if you're a person who does like endurance things, I think your diet should primarily consist more of like fats, especially like distance stuff. Like a lot of distance athletes kind of have kind of switched to like a keto thing because like you the higher and better you have like fat utilization, the further and more effective you'll be as far as like using that distance. Now, carb is still important that because you use that to refuel and to stay within energy during that like that time span. But you also have to understand people who compete at the elite level for endurance stuff are also very skinny. They don't have a lot of fat on them because that would kind of impact their running economy. And so they wouldn't be any good at that. So hence carbs for fuel, refuel, bow. But yes, so thermally effective food, your food choice matters for your athletic performance. Highly recommend that if you're doing some endurance stuff, make sure you're having enough fats. Because I think a lot of people kind of go in under fueled and under gas. And in general, this both for athletic performance and for your weight management, playing with the macronutrients that you're consuming comes second to CECO, your calories in versus your calories out. If you're not eating enough food in general, whether you focus on fats or carbs, it's not going to be helpful because you're running on like an empty gas tank. So like I think so from the reading and research that I've done, they've kind of like checked what the body does when compared to fuel. So like if you put like a half tank of gas in a car versus a full tank of gas in a car, and you ask both cars to go 100 miles per hour with the same car, they'll do that. If you are undercaloried, if you have half a tank of with the energy source that you're using for whatever activity that you're doing, um, you're or versus a full tank, the body's more like a balloon, where if you go blow it up to like it's about to burst, fly around the room, you can go a lot more laps. If you blow it up halfway and you go kind of fall around immediately, right? Because you have half a tank, your body will nerf your ability to perform because you have less gas. And you're like, we have to save this energy for later and to function. So summary, your TEF, very important, very useful, very good. Manipul can be manipulated for your athletic performance as well as for weight loss and weight management. Your food choice matters for those things. If you're not eating the right things for your athletic endeavor, for the sport you're participating in or the activity, you'll be underserved and maybe underperforming. And that's not something that I don't think anyone wants to do. And lastly, over everything. If you are not eating enough, you're not going to perform athletically. In addition, if you are eating too much, you are not going to see weight loss or you won't be able to manage your weight effectively. You need to be eating the right amount. So our contact, look at me doing Bulgarians. Look at those thighs. It's good. Make sure to shoot me an email if you have a recommendation for the name of this podcast. Once again, I still haven't named it. Been a little lazy. Sorry. If you have a name, email it to me. I'd love a suggestion. I need help. Creative naming is not my strong suit. Um, or leave a comment on this video. Come talk to me. Yeah, that works too. Social media, once again, most times or most ways you can find me, social media at quadfather_77 or quadfather and a 77 somewhere, and that's probably going to be me. If you are a nerd and you like to lift weights, I definitely recommend you check out the Facebook group Nerds Who Lift Weights. We talk about fitness, we share nerd stuff, we talk about anime, so on and so forth. I also go live in there once a week and discuss specific topics. So this week I talked about where we had a discussion about whether or not the conventional barbell deadlift is a good exercise for hypertrophy. And you're like, John, I don't know. Is it a good exercise for hypertrophy? It means you probably need to join the Facebook group and find out because I'll tell you. Yeah, guys, make sure to hit me up, especially if you got questions. In one of my shoots before this one, I was talking about my friends and the training and how you use different fuels for different zones. So you have like zone one, which is like your rest, two, three, and four, and five. Zone two still has like a high amount of like fat utilization, and that's where like a lot of people like you're gonna get your best aerobic base, kind of like improve like your fitness output kind of thing. Like zone three has a little bit more lactate. Zone four has even more lactate, and zone five is like all out pretty much. Um, your zone three still like the zone three, you will be using more carbs versus fat than in zone two. And I was kind of gonna have like like potentially a presentation about the different training zones as far as like aerobic stuff because a lot of people don't understand that. Like once again, I have friends who run marathons but don't know what the training zones are. Like I had my one friend, she was like, "Yeah, I did like my long, slow, steady state run." She was in zone five for an hour and 15 minutes. That's nuts, by the way. No one ever do that. That's like heart attack worthy. I was like, what you should be in is some zone two, some long, slow, steady state. Maybe drift into zone three a little bit because you've been running for an hour and 15 minutes, but don't stay in zone five for an hour and 15 minutes. But yeah, so that'll probably be my next presentation. Solo work is just talking about the different training zones, why they're effective, and how they can best help you. Yeah, guys, thank you for showing up for this presentation. And I apologize if this is not the best version of the presentation I get out, just because like I've done this like 8 times. But yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you enjoy this presentation. Once again, suggestions for a name for my podcast would be helpful. Please and thank you.